Hello. We are about to read Chapter 15 of Becoming Naomi Leon by Pam Munoz Ryan. So, let's take a very deep breath in. And let's exhale. And let's begin. Chapter 15, A Piteousness of Doves. Fabiola hung up the phone and shook her head and frowned. It had been 3 days since we'd been to Aunt Teresa's, and still Santiago had not arrived. Teresa says that she feels confident that he still might come for the holidays, possibly for the new year. I will take Owen and Reuben to the municipal building and check the registration list this morning, said Bernardo. Well, I guess that is that, said Graham, looking into her plate of eggs. Graham, he still might come. I scooted my chair away from the table and walked outside to the jacaranda tree and sat down. Tonight was Barrio Halacos Posada, and tomorrow the radishes would be delivered. Where was Santiago? What could have happened? He was going to miss everything, including us. I stayed beneath the tree while Bernardo left with the boys, and Graham, Fabiola, and Flora left for El Mercado. A breeze lifted the loose purple jacaranda blossoms and sprinkled them over me. Picking up a bar of soap, I held it against the sky and imagined a little white dove inside. I rounded the corners of the bar and smoothed the arch that would be the back. I thought of Blanca. I wondered what she was doing and if she missed me. I thought about Mr. Marble and Ms. Morimoto. If I didn't find my father, would I have to live in Las Vegas and leave my life in Lemon Tree? I worked and whittled, scraped and dug, but when I got to the center, there was nothing there, only the ground, covered with my snowy frustrations. I whispered to the leaves of the purple flowers, Santiago, you don't have to be our father if you don't want to. Just show up and help me, please. As I picked up another bar of soap to begin again, the gate opened and Owen walked toward me, with Reuben following. It's okay, Naomi. It's okay. Had Santiago registered at the municipal building? But when Bernardo walked into the yard, behind the boys, I saw his sad, soft-hearted eyes. I knew that Owen had only been trying to reassure me. There was no good news to give. That night, before Las Posadas, Graciela brushed my hair until it shimmered like velvet. Since I'd been thinking so much about my father, I wondered about Reuben's. Graham would say to let it be and mind my own affairs. Blanca would tell me to ask lots of questions and to get lots of answers. Graciela, ¿dónde está Reuben's father? She stopped brushing. I hope I hadn't been too rude or too nosy. We are no longer together. Did you ever want to leave Reuben with Flora and Pedro and go looking for your life? Graciela turned me around to face her. She carefully situated a beaded headband in my hair. No, Naomi. You see, I am looking for my own life right here with Reuben. At 8, when the sky was filled with darkness, we all walked the few blocks through the barrio to a small hotel for Las Posadas. Many of the neighbors gathered there in the street, as well as tourists who were staying at the hotels. Flora and Pedro and Graciela seemed to know almost everyone. In just a matter of minutes, the road filled with people. The door to the inn opened, and a handsome man with black hair and a beard walked out into the street with his 2 teenage daughters. their arms full of baskets. "Look," said Fabiola, "he has las gondolas, the torches." The father gave the adults the long sticks of bamboo with a candle stuck in top, surrounded by an upside-down cellophane umbrella. One daughter handed me long wire sparklers, at least 3 feet long, then passed whistles to the youngest children. The other daughter gave firecrackers to the boys. Owen held up a bundle of pink and white firecrackers to show me, grinning and jumping up and down. Reuben copied him. The man and his daughters lit the wicks of las gondolas, and then everyone passed the flames, candle to candle, until the street glowed with soft lights. One of the older boys held a candle, and the younger ones ran to it and lit their own firecrackers, tossing them quickly away from the crowd. Pop, pop, crack! The huddle of people began walking slowly through the street. Every person, from the smallest to the oldest, held a sparkler, candle, or firecracker to light the night. I held my sparkler out and watched the tiny white pinpoints sprinkle onto the street. The sound of the firecrackers echoed off the stone streets and brick walls. People wove like a snake on the cobblestones, then stopped at the first door and started to sing. "It is a famous song about the night," whispered Fabiola. "It says, 'The Queen of Heaven is asking for shelter for only one night under your roof.'" On the other side of the door, someone answered. I looked up at Fabiola, surprised. She nodded. "The people wait behind the door. They say, 'No hay posada.' There is no shelter here." "Watch," said Graciola. "The people who turned us away will come out of their house and join us." As I peeked back through the crowd, the door opened and a man and a woman stepped out. Another neighbor passed some candles, which they lit. Then the parade started again. As I walked, my sparkler spilled a circle of brightness in front of me. Graham had a bamboo candelero, and when I glanced up at her, in that light, her face looked soft and contented. She hummed along with the singers, even though she didn't know the words. The song continued, and people's voices became stronger, floating upward and echoing off the walls of the barrio. At each house, it was as if part of me knocked on the door too, asking about my father and getting no answers. Spurts of light and noise surrounded me. I felt tears in my eyes and wiped away the drops on my lashes. We stopped at another door, and the people's voices sang louder. Again, someone from behind the door called back to them, "No hay posada." The procession circled the block and stopped in front of the inn where we had begun. The father, who had passed out los candeleros, knocked on his own door and sang out the words of the song. A woman's voice sang back. Graciela whispered, "Come in, holy pilgrims. Welcome to this place. Although this house is modest, our heart is big." Everyone cheered loudly, and the boys threw an army of firecrackers, the noise peppering the street. My tears spilled over. Graciela hugged me. "It is a joy and a sadness in the heart at the same time, no?" I nodded. No wonder my father loved Los Posadas. Then, as quickly as my tears had come, the mood around us changed. The doors flung open, and several women came out with trays of sandwiches that Fabiola called tortas. The daughters served punch from a big pot. On a nearby rooftop, I noticed a boy swing a rope back and forth, then let go. Another boy on a rooftop on the other side of the street caught it, and then pulled. A piñata slowly rose from the ground. Someone held up a stick, and the crowd clapped and cheered. Even the youngest children received a turn, tapping the piñata. Owen swung and got a good crack. When everyone whooped for him, he bowed and the people laughed, but not making fun of him like in Lemon Tree. When the bigger boys took their turns and the piñata broke, Owen ran in with the rest and came back to me with his hands full of something that looked like short sticks of bamboo. "Sugar cane," said Graciela. She took the thick cane, peeled back the top like a banana, and handed a piece to Owen and another to me. "Taste it." Owen ran off with the sugar cane dangling from his mouth like a cigar. I carefully put the white bark to my lips and sucked on the sweetness. One after the other, the pottery insides of the 5 piñatas clattered onto the street, and little children ran to collect the peanuts, small oranges, and sugar cane that spilled out of their clay tummies. The women passed out orange, pink, and yellow tissue paper bundles to each person, then began to drift away in 2s and 3s back to their own parts of the neighborhood. As they left, they called out, "Feliz Navidad!" We headed home too. Flora, Graham, and Fabiola walked arm in arm ahead of me, 3 links in a chain. Bernardo and Pedro walked behind us, talking in their deep Spanish voices, probably about the radishes that would be delivered from the fields tomorrow. Reuben and Owen, on one side of me, already nibbled the cookies and candy that had been inside the tissue bundles. On the other side, Graciela held my hand. Every few minutes she looked down at me and smiled with a face full of kindness. Just for a blink of my eye, I pretended that Graciela was my mother. I wondered if my father had ever married again. Maybe he would show up and he would meet Graciela and they would get married. Then Owen, Graham, and I could live with them in a little house like Flora and Pedro's, and Fabiola and Bernardo close by. I would never have to go back to Lemon Tree and take the chance of having to live with Skyla. Every year, we could all walk home from Las Posadas together, one big family. We turned the corner, and the street lamp gave off enough light so that we could see a lone figure up ahead standing in front of the wooden gates. "I told Benny to come over so we could make the decision tonight," said Bernardo. Pedro waved and the person waved back. As we got closer, I thought, what if it isn't Benny? What if it is my father? But it wasn't. It was Benny. Everyone went to bed except for the men, who huddled together in the yard and discussed what they would carve for the festival. With my box of carvings under my arm, I tiptoed into Flora's kitchen for the last of the hot chocolate, which I knew was on the back of the stove. As I sipped, I examined a jacaranda branch that Reuben had dragged inside and left on Flora's table. I picked up the branch and held it above my animals. I moved the branch back and forth like a puppeteer, and imagined what my father had once carved for us. Then I held the branch upright, as if it grew out of the table. Since it was flat on the bottom, it balanced and stood like a young sapling. I braced it with Flora's salt and pepper shakers and bottles of hot sauce for extra support. Then carefully began placing my soap figurines among the spindly twigs. Benny walked in while he drank a glass of water. He glanced at my arrangements on the table. He came closer, studying the animals in the tree. "Don't touch," he said. Then he ran outside. That is the end of the chapter. I will see you next chapter.